guys, welcome back to another tutorial video. This is for the tortoiseshell effect, and this is the set that caused people to ask me to do a little tutorial for them. So I did a live for WowBao on their page, and I did the tortoise effect live, and this was the nail that came out of that. These are the two that I'm going to take you through on this tutorial. It's only a quick one, 20 minutes long. Most of it's sped up. It's all techniques that I've shown in previous videos as well, so nothing tricky. Looks really complex, really isn't. Okay, so the first one that I'm doing is the full nail tortoiseshell effect. I've stuck a practice tip onto my cuticle pusher with blue tack, and I've put a really bright light on so you can't see any of the contrast or colour. This base colour is nuts for you. I think in the set I originally used bamboo. Either's fine. Nuts for you is slightly more of a yellowy orangey. Bamboo is more of a beige. That's nuts for you. So under different lights it looks more orange. These colours for some reason are showing up as looking really orangey on the video, and they're not. That brown colour is actually mystery, which is a chocolate brown. So I've just decanted some of that and the black liner onto my fancy palette, 'cause there's no fancy dish in this one. Using the 9mm liner and my scummy old practice base coat bottle. That's not for clients, that's the one that I use to mess about with practice, do my videos, my lives and that sort of stuff. So we're taking the base colour, which has been cured, and I'm going to pop on a layer of the base coat, but don't cure it because we're using it as a blooming gel. I'm going to pick up some of the mystery, which is a chocolate brown. Again, it looks orange on here, it's really not though, but I do think this would look really cool in like different colours, so maybe give that a go. You can see I'm doing like straight lines of dots, but on a diagonal. If you do straight lines from top to bottom, it's going to look really even and symmetrical. And the tortoiseshell effect is obviously based on nature, where there is pattern to it, but it is all kind of random. So just be a bit random with it. I do wait for it to bloom out. Something I really liked about this effect is it gave me a bit of inspiration to do some giraffe print nails at some point, because actually that did look a little bit giraffe printy when it blooms. I'm just showing you here, that's a waxing strip. I don't do waxing, but that's the waxing paper strip stuff. And I just spray it with Sanitiser spray, which is an alcohol based spray. Pop it on my desk, and I use that for my gel brush wipe off. A lot of people ask how I clean my brushes. I've folded it in half to give it an extra thickness, but also sometimes when you can't just surface wipe it off, I grab the bristles between the two layers of alcohol soaked wipe or strip or whatever, and just gently pull the paint out of the gel out of the bristles that way. But just do be gentle with those brushes. I've had these WowBao liners since day dot, and they still hold their shape, they still look really beautiful. Just keep them nice and clean. That's the way that I do it. There's no real right or wrong. So after you've cured that, add another layer of the base coat on as a blooming gel. Don't cure it. I've mixed a bit of the mystery in with the black, and you can use black gel polish, but I found that the gel from the liner gels is a better consistency for this, and I've just basically made a much darker brown. So what we're doing is we're creating like layers of depth of colour. So you're starting with the light in the background, doing the big brown dots, the slightly smaller dark dots, and then we're going to go in and we're going to do smaller blotches on top of that of even darker. What I'm doing is I'm trying to put my glove behind, trying to get focus, trying to get you to be able to see the colours properly, and it's not working. It's not working for me. And as you'll know in my videos, that there's quite often times where I'm just faffing around, and this is one of them. There you go. So you can see I've not done a big blob, and it's not got any harsh edges. I've used the brush to stipple it. So that I've just gone off and cured it. There's going to be another layer go on of base coat. Should be coming. Yep, sped that up. You don't need to see me putting base coat, you know what you're doing. Okay, and you can let that level first before you go in with the colour if you want to. So with the black, and it is just completely black, I'm not mixing that with anything else. I'm doing more dots than a blob, if that makes sense. So with the brown you could put a blob and just stipple the edges, and then with the darker colour you could sort of do that as well. With the black, really you want to just dot it on so that each dot blooms out individually. And this is a good time for a bit of artistic faffing. I don't like that there is so much light on there. I think it needs to be a bit darker, so I'm wiping that off. I'm going into the middle of the black blobs with the lightest colour again, and I'm not going to leave it like that. I'm going to almost mix those colours on the nail, as it were. So I'm going to use the brush just to sort of just gently push those in, so the black doesn't look as harsh, and you've got a little bit of contrast of colour. You've got a bit of what could look a little bit like highlight. Nature has all this sort of mottled, like the tortoiseshell is a really mottled effect, and there isn't really a right and wrong way of doing this, because every shell that you're going to see in nature is going to be totally different. So we're nearly 7 minutes into this video and I've been really serious so far. I'm actually sitting in bed doing this voiceover. Yeah, no Frank today. He's elsewhere sleeping and balking and chewing and slopping, but I imagine he'll be on the next one. Oh, yawn. Oh my word. Anyway, so basically what I'm doing is I'm going through those colours again, just pulling out the edges of some of them, colour correcting some bits where I think if that's too dark, add a bit of light, if that's too light, add a bit of dark. Little blotches on the light in between areas, just to make it less blocky in one colour, because we really just want a patchy mottled effect with those, you know, big areas of the browns and the blacks, but also the little bits, blotches and mottles in between. And it does look like a bit of a mess sometimes, and you do have to trust the process a little bit. If you find that you've played too much and things are not blooming, you can decant a little bit of the base gel onto your palette and just push a bit of base gel into those areas as well. But what I will say is the base gel will push things away from it. So if you were to put a bit of base gel in the middle of one of those blotches, it would push everything outwards and you would have a hole. So maybe put the base gel in the lighter areas. So what I did there was cure it and then do a layer of base coat on its own and cure that, and that really is just to level it out. Obviously where you're using base gel and then blotches, it's going to make it uneven, so I've just evened it with base gel, cured that, brought it back out and then top coated it. You can even take the tacky layer off the base coat once that's done and file it a little bit and then top coat it to even it out more, but I didn't really need to do that. So for this half and half French twist nail effect, I'm using striping tape, and as you can see, it's one of my nemesis. I'm using the striping tape to section off half of the nail. You can see it's a real faff. I've literally just sped it up. Striping tape is brilliant if you got the patience for it, which I might not have. I might not have. I haven't got that patience. But it does look amazing. So you're not going to see this bit. This bit is to give you a base guide to work from. What I've done is added that on, and then I'm adding a layer of matte top coat and curing it, and that will seal that bit onto the nail. So you can snip that bit off or you can file it off. You gently just run a file along the edge there, top to bottom, not side to side, because you can pull it out of the gel. Just snip those ends above the end of the nail, because if anything's hanging, it will start to pull your product off the nail. I've decanted a little bit onto the palette here and then decided that I didn't really need to do that because these liner gels have brushes on them built in and I'm not used to it, that's why. So what I'm doing now on top of the mat, which is much easier to paint on, is I'm deciding how far I want my French to come and how far up, and I'm making little markers. This is a really handy way to mark out your French if you're doing them in gel. So you want to get them even either side, so one side doesn't start lower than the other, and then you want to figure out how far down you're coming, and it's basically a V but a sort of rounded off V, if that makes sense, a U if you will. As a U is basically a rounded V. Anyway, it's early. So I've drawn that on and then decided I think I want it lower. I think the problem is that if that was a normal nail, that would have been low enough. Where they are practice tips, the top is square and it kind of puts you off kilter, whereas if that was a proper nail or a real nail, that would be much more rounded at the top, and then that kind of gives you your more almondy shape for the base of the pink part of a French. Where it was square, it made it feel very wide and very short, so I'm trying to elongate that French, but a lot of it is just doing these things by eye, deciding how long you want things, deciding actually I'm not really keen on that bit, and trying to get your things in focus on the camera, and you know, all that sort of malarkey. Anyway, you're not going to see this line, so you can faff with it as much as you like. Pop that in for a cure, because although you're not going to see it, you do want it. You need to figure out which side of what you want where. So one half of the top will be pink, one half of the bottom will be white, and they will be diagonal. So this is the base colour for the torty effect, and all you're going to do is paint on your diagonal sections of where you're going to want your tortoiseshell effect. That's all. And faff, speed it up. I would say you could probably put some of it on with the brush from the bottle if you want, but it's much easier just to use a liner or a detailer or a brush, a smaller brush, for that base, because it's more precise. That's what they're for. So I've given that a cure, and then I'm taking you through the stages of literally what we've just done on the full nail. Base coat as a blooming gel, going into the brown and doing your blotches. And again, I'm going sort of on the diagonal, but it's much harder to do in that small space. I am making the print smaller, so on the bigger nail they're bigger blotches, on the smaller sections I'm making the smaller blotches. You could make them all the same, but it's again, it's personal preference, and it's like, I call it artist's eye, in that you decide what you think looks best based on judging it at the time that you're doing it. And I do this all the time with artwork and nails, and any drawings that I'm doing as well. I might not use conventional shading or conventional techniques because at the time I feel like something else looks better. And I think it's really important as a nail artist to use your intuition for these things. So just go for it is what I'm saying. Make it up as you go along. That is literally just justification for me just winging it, basically. Love it, love winging it. So I cured it, I base coated it for another blooming gel technique, and it doesn't matter if you go over those edges, try and keep your lines available for you to see. But again, it's just building up those layers and the depth of colour. You could do this on a colour blocked half and half acrylic French. It would be not impossible. You potentially could colour block out those halves in clear, or actually the Nuts For You base does come in acrylic as well, and you could just then build up the mystery and the mystery mixed with black and the black on top with gel. So you could colour block that top French part, and then you could colour block the bottom part in whatever you wanted to do, really. So yeah, excuse me, I didn't even turn my phone on silent. How crazy is that? Why would I do that? Anyway, so yeah, you could colour block it, and at some point I imagine I will acrylic colour block this effect or another effect or whatever. So I've done my torty bits, and I'm adding in the pink part with jasmine. Jasmine's a really nice kind of nudie beige with a shimmer in it, and I thought that would go really well because I'm going to put some metallic striping tape through the middle, and I'm also going to pick out the French line with a bit of glitter, so a bit of shimmer kind of complemented it, and just brought the tone back down again, which was really nice. And I've used the liner gel there on the white, just with the brush straight out of the bowl. I'm going to go in and do a second coat of both of those. Pull that down with this stripy stripe brush. The brush thing with the striping brush, the 9mm brush, that one. And yeah, and the white again. So that'll go into cure. That's done. What I need to do now is add some matte top coat, because I'm gonna do a line around the French in one of the premium glitter polishes, which is called Shadow. It's a kind of gold but with a slightly brown tone. It's really beautiful, and actually when you do your like leopard print nails and you add a bit of bling onto them, a little bit of glitter, but that works really, really well. Really beautiful colour and gorgeous for autumn. The reason I did matte top coat is because these glitter polishes, ignore the fact I'm not in focus, you should be used to me by now. These glitter polishes, the premium ones, they're not really glitter as such. They're really tiny, minute pieces of foil suspended in the gel. And if you get it in the wrong place on a shiny base, it just adheres itself without curing and won't budge unless you actually scrape it off. They're amazing. So I want a matte top coat. If I get it in the wrong place, I can just wipe it off, and that's loads easier. So I've cured that, and I'm going back in with this striping tape, and what you're going to do effectively is just cover that line. Now when you snip this, snip it short of the top so that you can completely seal the top of your striping tape in, and the bottom obviously. And then you want to go in with top coat, but make sure you get your top coat over the top of that. If in doubt, cure it and then re-top coat it. So I've gone in with the matte. I really like the way that this looks in matte. Absolutely adore the tortoiseshell effect in matte and shiny. Like them in both. What I decided to do was add top coat, the high shine, the diamond top coat, onto the pink of the nail bed area, and the white of the tip, and the striping tape down the middle to bring the shine back out, but leave the tortoiseshell bits completely matte. And so you've got a half and half bed and tip, but also you've got some different textures and bits and pieces in there. So these are the two together. Really hope that this tutorial has helped anyone that's struggling with the torty effect. It's really simple once you know how to do it. You'll probably faff a lot less than I do anyway, and it's actually really quick. Again, thanks for watching. Thanks for coming to support me. If you like it, give the video a thumbs up and subscribe so that you know when the next tutorial's coming out. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.